to say that
the White
Twitter and
House ran with
Facebook
it.
were in the wrong for questioning this story when the people whose names were on it were like, nah, we don't believe this shit either.
What about the Twitter files? I don't believe that they're able to properly maintain Russian and North Korean relations.
Name something that's as suppressive as attempting to overthrow the United States government.
Hey, what's up?
Devin, what's
How's it
going
going?
on? What's your take? Doing all
Yeah,
right.
so I don't defend Trump as a person, and I don't consider myself MAGA, but I am leaning towards voting Republican in this election. Primarily because I'm concerned about directions that the Democratic Party is heading in general.
What direction are we heading?
Yeah, so I've got listed several reasons here. I don't like the tendency towards censorship and shying away from protecting free speech. I don't like the strange pivot on the border where for 3.5 years we were. I can maybe
Okay.
list off my
I'll write him
reasons here if
down.
that's all right, and then you can go and jump into any that you would like to talk about. Border, I feel like they flip
Free
flopped on heavily.
speech,
Yeah, free
border.
speech, border, censorship. I guess that goes along with it. Just pressuring from the White House for social media companies. I'm pro life, so
It
not
wasn't from
a
the
fan of
White
the
House.
abortion.
It wasn't from the White House.
It was from the White House and the FBI. Um,
No, it wasn't
I
from the White
I don't
House.
believe that they're able to properly maintain Russian and North Korean relations. I don't like their unwillingness to pursue nuclear as an alternative form of energy, and I don't like the unwillingness to make elections more secure.
What do you mean unwillingness to make elections more secure?
Yeah, so for example, voter ID or for making election day like a holiday and having more in-person voting and moving away from mail-in
Democrats are
ballots, which,
for no, mail-in ballots are fine. Democrats are for having a election day, but mail-in ballots are completely fine.
okay, yeah, I guess we agree on that then. I think that would resolve a lot of issues in which, a case, something like Trump
Re-
could challenge the
Re-
election.
Republicans are against mail-in ballots.
Yes.
Right.
I don't like mail-in ballots as an
I,
idea. I understand that there's some cases where it's
why?
necessary and people can't get to the polls, but it just introduces
Why? What's
unnecessary
wrong with
risk.
mail-in?
It reduces
There's
unnecessary
no
risk.
risk.
Yes, there is.
There's no risk. There's been a bunch of
How do you
studies. There's been a
verify
bunch of
someone's
studies that have
identity
been
when
done
they're
on
not in
this.
person?
Signature verification.
Yeah, how do you do that?
You act like people don't have fake IDs. So you have signature verification. When you register to vote, you show your IDs, you show your stuff, and then you sign your name. They take that and it's put into a system. If that does not match, then it'll have to be sent back. But there's been extensive studies on this. The likelihood of a ballot being fraudulent if it's by mail-in is more likely than in person. However, that happens
That's
at a
what I'm
rate of
saying.
about 1 in 400,000. It happens at a rate of about 1 in 400,000, 1 in 500,000 ballots,
The reason I'm
which is
against it
less
is because
frequency than the amount of.
it gets if you remove a larger portion of mail-in ballots, then you remove this talking point. This is a debate we don't have to have. It makes the elections
No,
less
Republicans
contestable, and
do
I think that's a
not
good thing.
want. No, Republicans don't want mail-in ballots because they want the ability to shut down polling locations, and we've seen this happen in the South, where they've removed something like 1,600 polling locations since Shelby County v. Holder. It's actually more now. That was in the 2020 election.
Uh, I'm not. I haven't heard of that case. I'm not knowledgeable if that would be happening on a large scale. You could
Right.
easily argue that there's
Republicans know
cases where
that
mail-in
mail-in
ballots have been
ballots.
amused.
Nope, mail-in ballots are
There's
perfectly
definitely
okay.
there's
Utah
definitely
is
cases where the
Utah,
mail-in
which
ballots
is
have
all
been abused. You
Republican
know
does it.
that.
Name it.
Don't have the case off the top of my head, but you can't say it hasn't happened.
There
Just as
are
I can't say
instances
that
where voter
that the
fraud by
in-person things
mail
haven't been shut down.
happens. There are instances where mail-in ballots are fraudulent. There are also instances where mail-in ballots or where in-person ballots are fraudulent.
Yeah, okay. But can we
But
both at
for
least
instance,
agree that
in my state of Washington, the very first year they did it, there were 2.5 million ballots that came back. Of that, 70 were flagged for potential fraud, and less than 10 were referenced to a prosecutor's office.
okay, I guess what I'm trying to
So
get at
four
is at
million
least
ball or 2.5 million ballots, and they had 70 that were flagged.
Yeah, I'm not trying to argue that it's a massive issue, but I guess my take on this is that um, reducing the amount of mail-in ballots removes the need to even have this argument and removes a lot of the Republican argument. Like, why
I
aren't
don't care
Democrats in
about the
support of
argument.
this?
Just because people are informed, the only reason the argument exists is because Republicans want the ability to suppress the vote. That's it. There is no argument in anybody in academia about whether or not mail in ballots are fraudulent or not.
Okay, okay, that's fair. I respect that take. Um, do you want to move on
Like I
to
said,
a
it's
different
very,
point?
very rare. Well, I want to say voter ID, by the way, is not what it's just a mischaracterization by Republicans. There is voter ID. We have voter ID in pretty much every state in the country or federal verification of ID. The problem is Republicans, again, want to restrict the types of IDs that you can use specifically to target people of color because people of color are more likely to not have state issued IDs and driver's licenses and more inclined and more likely to use other forms of identification. And those work for every other aspect of life for rent verification, for income verification, for buying cigarettes, for buying whatever. Republicans want
Oh,
to restrict the types of IDs that are used so that they can attempt to stop people from voting.
okay. I haven't done enough research into the voter ID case, so I'll concede that you know more than me there. Um, can we talk about some of the other issues? Let's see. What about one
Yeah,
of the reasons why?
I got free speech and censorship, which is funny because the Republicans attempted to censor the votes of 81 million people. For starters, for number two, they don't believe in free speech. Donald Trump weaponized his base to attack people and send people after people that were dissentful towards him.
In which specifics are you referencing here?
I am referencing the fact that the right does not support free speech, just that their speech is not silenced.
How does the right not support free speech?
The right does not support free speech because they target it all the time.
How is that?
I just told you, Donald Trump sends his followers after people that dissent with him.
But that's not
He
censoring,
sent his
right? That's
followers
just
after
arguing.
Brad Raffensperger. No,
That's not
sending your
censoring.
followers after people to put them in fear of their life, to have them move, to have them get death threats, to have them get attacked. Yeah,
Okay,
that's
but did Donald
censorship.
Trump
He
call
also
for
tried
them
to
to
censor
death threat
81
them?
million votes. Did he call for them? No, he just knows that it happens and continues to do it.
Okay, you could say the same thing for Democrats there, man.
No, you can't.
Yes,
Donald
if
Trump
they're
is a former
degrading
president.
JD Vance or
Donald
calling
Trump
Trump,
is a former
if they're saying all these
degrading
horrible
JD
things about
Vance is
Republicans,
not.
calling them racist, calling them, saying they do these egregious offenses, they know that their followers are going to go out and do the same thing. So I don't understand how it's any different from what Trump's doing.
That doesn't make it okay, and this is a former president. But here's the
Well, he's not
difference: is that
calling for
Donald
that.
Trump's allegations. Yes, he is. Donald Trump has attacked people on numerous different occasions. The way in which he's done that has been outlined in multiple different court cases. They have pointed out Brad Raffensperger. You dissented with him. You put his name out on social media. People came after, made him death threats, and I keep going. This is written about in books. It's written about in the indictments as well. Ruby Friedman, Shay Moss, both had to change their identities and move. Fonnie Willis has a constant security detail. Every single judge and attorney and court staff that went after him, he posted about on social media, and they sent death threats. They got swatted. They had people show up to their house. The list goes on. And Donald Trump continues to engage in that behavior, knowing damn well, because it's outlined in the indictments against him, that this behavior leads to bad outcomes for people that go against him, and he continues to do it anyways. That's
You know who
absolutely
also had
suppressing
attempts
people's
on their
free
life?
speech.
Brett Kavanaugh. Brett
That's a
Kavanaugh got absolutely
whataboutism. That's a
slammed in his
whataboutism. That's a
confirmation.
whataboutism. That's a whataboutism.
No, it's saying that the same
Do you
thing
see
happens
how
on
you're
both
having to?
sides.
Do
That's
you
not
see
a
how you're having
whataboutism.
to point? Do you see? No, no, no. Do you see how it is a whataboutism? Do you see how
I
you're
said the
having to
Democratic
point to
Party
an
wants to
issue with
censor,
a
and then you
single?
immediately shifted to Republicans. That is the
Really
exact
quick,
same
and who do
thing.
you point to? And who do you point to? No, it's not. Who do you point to? You're trying to say that Democrats censor speech, and that's absolutely not true. That's what Republicans use for fascist rhetoric. Who do you point to when you're saying, well, the Democrats are censoring people? Some random fucking guy with a mental health illness. And who am I pointing to? The former fucking president of the United States. That's a bit different.
So why did he not pressure any social media companies to censor any of the negative stories about him? He let them all
He
say it.
did.
When?
No, he didn't. He did. He
When?
did.
Give me the proof.
Biden v. Missouri. Yes, he did. It was alleged in the thing. In fact, the guy that released it, the dude that did the Twitter files, pointed out that Donald Trump did that very thing.
Just pull up the court case, man. Let's go.
I can pull it up for you right now. What's the guy's name?
Let's not talk about the Biden administration pressuring social media companies to censor the Hunter Biden laptop story or
They
the
didn't.
COVID.
That's not what they did. And it wasn't the Biden administration, it was the Biden
Have you
campaign.
seen?
And they did it in regards
Yes.
to the TOS. It was a TOS violation because there were naked pictures of his son. Did you not know that?
No. They were censoring any stories that claimed that Hunter Biden's laptop existed and was, with they pass it off as Russian interference.
No.
And they took down anything on Facebook that was promoting this story before confirmation.
Because the story was bullshit. It was put out by Rudy Giuliani, who tried to break this story 3 years prior. Even the authors that were involved in the initial story from the New York Post removed their names. They didn't want their names attached to the story because they didn't believe it either. So how the fuck you're going to say that Twitter and Facebook were in the wrong for questioning this story when the people whose names were on it were like, nah, we don't believe this shit either?
Well, then why did the White House say it was, all truth and pressure those companies to censor it anyways if it was so,
Right
sketchy?
here, Trump asked Twitter to take down derogatory tweet from Chrissy Teigen. Right here. Then President Trump asked Twitter to take down a tweet from model and television personality Chrissy Teigen in 2019 because he saw it as a derogatory, according to testimony from a Twitter whistleblower and former employee.
Well, Twitter whistleblower and former employee. Okay.
Was it free speech when Donald Trump was telling people to beat people up and get them out of here?
Did he say beat people up?
Yes, he said beat them up, get them out of here.
I mean, obviously that's not being. First of all, I question the use of beat 'em up specifically, but I don't believe he actually made any calls to violence.
I can pull up the thing. Yes, he did numerous different times. Yes. I'll pay for your legal fees. Get him out of here. The Republicans don't support free speech. They've targeted the LGBTQ community. They've targeted books. They're trying to limit what kids can read in school.
What about the Twitter files? All the documents that were released showing Twitter throttling tons of conservative accounts and voices that they just disagree with.
No, that's not true. Every social media company does it. Every single one of them does it. It's not just, it wasn't just done to them. It's not. It's not. And in fact, Elon Musk has been around. They literally banned white dudes for Harris.
Elon came out and said that he was not in favor of that and didn't even know that account existed.
He banned multiple different people. He banned a journalist and then laughed about it. He blocks people all the time, as does Donald Trump.
He does not, to my knowledge, he does not restrict
people from the platform. In what way is attempting, I'm just a quick question, in what way is attempting to overthrow an election and delegitimize 81 million votes, in what way is that not censorship?
So I actually don't agree with how he handled the results of the election. I think he was a sore loser and he acted rashly, and that was anti-free speech. Ultimate... But right. I believe that effort had no real chance of succeeding, and that the Democratic Party engages in far more suppression. And if enacted,
name something that's as suppressive as attempting to overthrow the United States government.
I don't believe. Well, yeah, I don't like that. But also, I believe that um, suppressing stuff like the Hunter Biden laptop story in a critical time in the election cycle could also be viewed as overthrowing the government because it's directly impacting election results, and there was pressure to do that from the government.
Hunter Biden is not running for president, and no, there was not pressure from the government to do that.
From the Biden
And you know
administration.
who was in charge? I'm sorry, really quick. Who was in charge of the government when that happened?
Biden Harris.
No, 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 no. When the Hunter Biden story dropped, who was in charge of the government?
Oh, that was right before the election. Well, I think we've kind of beat this issue to death.
Well, all right. Well, appreciate it. Take care, man.
Hey, we were having some respectful conversation.
I agree.